Austin is so closely associated with Texas government that it's hard to imagine the capital being anywhere else. The Texas legislature meets there, the governor works there, and Austin has been the center of Texas state government for generations. But Austin wasn't always the obvious choice. When it was selected as the capital, it was a small frontier settlement called Waterloo. Sam Houston strongly opposed putting the capital there. The Texas government eventually left the city, and at one point residents of Austin even fired a cannon to stop men sent by the President of the Republic of Texas from removing government records. So, how did a small frontier settlement become the capital of Texas? The story begins when Texas wasn't a state at all. It was an independent republic. After Texas won its independence from Mexico in 1836, the new Republic of Texas needed a place to operate its government. During its early years, that location was not very permanent. In October 1836, Columbia, today known as West Columbia, became the first capital used by the elected government of the Republic. That lasted only a few months, though. In 1837, the government moved to the newly established city of Houston, named after the Republic's first president, Sam Houston. Houston became the temporary capital, but Texas leaders were already considering a more permanent location. In 1838, Congress approved a site near LaGrange for a new capital. President Sam Houston vetoed the proposal. Houston favored keeping the government in the city that carried his name, but Houston could not immediately succeed himself as president. His successor had a very different vision for Texas, and his name was Mirabeau B. Lamar. Lamar became president in 1838 and strongly supported expanding the republic farther west. That influenced his vision for the capital. A commission was created to select a new site, and its members examined a small settlement along the Colorado River known as Waterloo. Waterloo was nothing like the Austin we know today. It was a tiny frontier settlement, but the commissioners liked the location. The area had natural resources, access to the Colorado River, and was relatively central within the territory claimed by the Republic. The Commission purchased more than 7,700 acres at Waterloo and in the surrounding areas. On January 19, 1839, the site was officially approved as the new capital. Waterloo was renamed Austin in honor of Stephen F. Austin. A new capital city was laid out. Government buildings were constructed, and by October 1839, President Lamar and his cabinet had arrived. The Republic's government records and archives were transported from Houston to Austin. Texas had a new capital. There was just one problem. Sam Houston still thought putting it there was a bad idea. When Sam Houston returned to the presidency in 1841, he inherited a capital he had never supported, and some of his concerns were understandable. Austin was still a small frontier community. It was relatively isolated. The Republic was struggling financially, and the frontier remained dangerous. On top of that, Mexico still did not recognize Texas independence. Then, in 1842, those concerns became much more immediate. Mexican forces invaded Texas and temporarily occupied San Antonio. Houston believed Austin was vulnerable. The government stopped operating there and eventually conducted its business elsewhere. But something extremely important remained in Austin: the Republic's archives. They weren't simply old papers. They included government, land, financial, military, and diplomatic records, and the people of Austin understood what those records represented. If those archives left, Austin might lose its status as the capital permanently. So residents were determined to keep them there, and that's when the fight over the Texas capital became much stranger. In December 1842, President Houston ordered Colonel Thomas Smith and Captain Eli Chandler to remove the government archives from Austin. The operation was supposed to happen quietly. Smith, Chandler, and about 20 men entered Austin and began loading records into 3 wagons. At first, everything went according to plan. Then they were spotted. An Austin innkeeper named Angelina Eberly noticed what was happening. Her response was dramatic. She fired a cannon. The shot alerted the city that the archives were being removed. Smith and his men quickly left Austin with the wagons, but Austin residents weren't going to let the records disappear. A group of armed men pursued them. The following morning, near Brushy Creek, Smith's group was confronted and surrendered the archives without a fight. The records were brought back to Austin, and residents celebrated their return. Texas history remembers the incident as the Archive War. Despite the name, it wasn't actually much of a war. No one was killed in the confrontation. But the incident demonstrated just how important those government records had become to Austin. The president wasn't there, Congress wasn't meeting there, but Austin still had the archives, and the residents intended to keep them. Winning the archive war didn't immediately bring the government back to Austin. For the next several years, Austin largely lost its role as a functioning seat of government. Its population declined and some buildings fell into disrepair. The government eventually operated from Washington on the Brazos. Then, in 1845, the government returned to Austin. That same year, Texas was annexed by the United States, but even then, Austin wasn't guaranteed to remain the capital permanently. The Texas Constitution of 1845 kept Austin as the seat of government until 1850, when voters would decide the issue. In the 1850 election, Austin won, and Texas still wasn't completely finished asking the question. Another statewide capital election was held in 1872, and Austin won again. By then, the small frontier settlement, once known as the Waterloo, had firmly established itself as the political center of Texas. So why is Austin the capital of Texas? It wasn't because Austin was already the largest or most important city in Texas. It wasn't. And it definitely wasn't because everyone agreed the capital belonged there. Mirabeau Lamar believed the Republic's future stretched westward, and Austin's location fit that vision. Sam Houston saw things differently. He believed Austin was isolated, vulnerable, and a risky place to operate the government, and for a while it looked like Austin might lose the capital altogether. The government left, the city's population declined, and the capital would have ended up somewhere else, but Austin survived. Its residents famously refused to give up the Republic's archives. The government eventually returned. And when Texans were given the opportunity to vote on the location of their capital, they chose Austin. Today, that tiny frontier settlement, once known as Waterloo, is one of the largest cities in the country and the center of Texas state government. And one of the strangest chapters in that transformation involved an innkeeper, a cannon, 3 wagons full of government records, and a fight over where Texas should keep its paperwork. If you enjoyed this story, consider subscribing to Lone Star Breakdown. There are plenty of more stories about how Texas became the state it is today. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next Lone Star Breakdown.